Hello, how you doing? It's Monday again. Paula, Grief Guru here. I wanted to talk to you today about something that's been coming up all week with various people. Loneliness. And what causes loneliness? And what seems to be coming up rather a lot is words, or the lack of. The lack of the right words to say to somebody who is grieving. And that lack, that fear that comes from that, means that they are saying nothing. They're not using words. In fact, more often than not, what I'm hearing from a lot of people lately is that they feel ignored. They feel lonely because people are so scared of saying the wrong words that they say nothing at all. And I find this a really deep sadness because I've been hearing this story, well, for as long as I've been a grief therapist. People crossing the street because they don't know what to say. People hurrying into shops or pretending they haven't seen them. No more phone calls. No more calling round. It seems like for a lot of people, once the funeral is finished, it's like their role has finished as a friend, as a support, as someone who cares, someone who wants to show compassion, kindness. Now, this isn't usually done out of anything malicious. And I know that's not always an easy thing to hear when you're actually going through grief. But it comes from fear. And it actually comes from love. I know it can seem a bit back to front, but if you care about somebody so much that you don't want to upset them anymore, that you don't want to make them cry, that you don't want to make their day even worse, and you have no idea what to say, how to behave, because, yet again, we come back to the usual. Nobody talks about grief and death, so nobody knows how to behave when it actually happens. And you have these people who care about you and love you so much, they just don't know what to say. And fear gets in the way. I have watched best friends for years say nothing to each other, lose friendships, families torn apart because nobody knows what to say, the right words to say. And it makes you, the griever, feel lonely, like you're on your own, lost. There's nothing worse than loneliness, like you're having to do it all on your own. I have heard the same story of, well, it's like the funeral was the full stop for them. After the funeral, nobody phoned me. Nobody called round. Before then, I was getting people calling round. I was getting phone calls 2 or 3 times a day to check in. I would have people coming and making meals for me or with me to make sure that I was eating. I would have friends coming round to say, look, I'm going for a walk. Do you want to come out with me, even if it's just for 10 minutes? I would have people helping me around the house so that the housework didn't become overwhelming. I would have people helping me with my children, and so on and so on and so on. I think I've heard every story. The saddest ones are things like um, I actually forced myself to go out and I saw my friend across the street and she suddenly dived into a shop, pretending she didn't see me. But I know she saw me. Or um, variations of that story. And it's heartbreaking. because you feel like you're a pariah. There's something wrong with you because you're stuck in grief. You're hurting. And I know it can seem very personal, but it really isn't. Not really. This is their problem, their fear, their doubt, their shame, their guilt, which I know it doesn't help you in any way. This is why when I'm working with clients, I ask them to have honest conversations with people. Tell them what you need, and you need to be proactive in your grief. If they haven't phoned you up for a week, find the courage to phone them or text them or send them a voice clip message on your phone and say, look, I know you haven't been round for a week and I know you've got your own life to live. Is there any chance we could just have a quick coffee sometime? I could really do with a friend. You see, the thing is, I know you're in grief and it's a horrible place to be. But they're not. Not yet. It's not their turn. At some point, it's going to hit them. Of course it is. Someone they love is going to die and they're going to be in your position. But right now, they are in life and you are in grief. And the two don't mesh. So your energy is low, it's dark, it's exhausting. Theirs is high. It has to be because they're living. They have work to do. They have families to look after. They have other responsibilities. They have things that they enjoy doing. They don't want to be pulled down to the negative energy of grief. And it's not a bad thing. It just is what it is. It's a different energy. And when you realize that everything in this world is energy and like attracts like, then that might help you understand why people inevitably back off. They will do as the best that they can for as long as they can, but the pull of life energy is normal. It's where we all want to be. We don't want to be in grief. Nobody chooses grief. But it's inevitable in life. Grief is part of life. And it's the horrible part, it's the shitty part that nobody wants. So would you choose to be in it? Of course you wouldn't. But every single human being on this planet is going to go through grief. At least once. By the time you reach my age, you'll have a few. And it's about riding that grief energy. So that when you're ready, especially if you work with me, you will raise yourself back up to life energy. And that's where everyone else is. Until it's their turn to go through grief, and they will dip down into grief energy. And then they will have to ride the grief wave. And then they will have to find their way back to life again. I hope that helps you understand just a little bit and accept what is actually happening around you. Now, when families break up and when families argue around death, that is something else, and that's something else that I will cover at another time. I wish you so much love and joy. And if you're ready to come back to life, let's have a chat. Take care.